that it said bad wedding, good marriage. So one of the things Mark and I have been doing for the last couple of years in our semi-retirement is participating in the senior theater troupe that's based at Lifeline. And we asked our friends from the senior theater troupe to help us tell the story of the bad wedding. So, okay. Marriage.
My husband and I are on the 5-year plan for the 12th time. I found marriage to be a very lonely place.
I cried at my wedding. My grandmother said, "I don't know why you're crying. You've certainly wanted him long enough, and now you have him."
If you're not married, tomorrow is a new day. If you are married, tomorrow is the same day.
Marriage is sad when it ends either with divorce or death.
The real romance begins after the wedding.
How much time do you
have?
To start with, we got married for the wrong reasons. I was 19, and marriage seemed like a way to escape my parents' grasp, but still have them pay for college.
Why did you marry Mark?
Well, he asked. And his intense anti-authority streak really appealed to me. It was the 60s, and seeing Mark enrage a cop just by looking at him with those eyes, not saying a word, in those days that was very sexy.
From my point of view, an enchantress had found me and we were having fun. We would take long rides upstate in the Plymouth to escape the urban landscape. We stared at the trees, bought apples, had endless conversations about the world. Then one day, we were bored with that routine, so we argued. Then we argued some more. And it was about something too dumb to remember, but at that time, sparks flew.
You know what? We're done. It's over. Just let me out of the car.
She opened the door and turned for one last barb, but I was too quick. So let's get married. She scowled at me and snarled.
Okay.
Then she got out and stalked off.
And that's how it happened.
I never claimed we were rational.
Anyway, my parents were really opposed to the marriage.
Well, you were only 19.
That wasn't the problem. My mother and sister both got married at 19, and Mark was white and Jewish, something that they had been wanting for years. But they were appalled by his issues with authority.
Especially theirs.
They hired someone to do a financial investigation of his family. And when they got the report,
They have nothing.
which wasn't true,
You'll be sorry.
It's just as easy to fall in love with a
So her parents visited my parents, hoping to enlist their help in breaking us up. My folks acted like they didn't really care, since they told me Dierdre was just fine. My mother tried to turn Dierdre's parents around by talking about true love.
But she was a Jewish mother, and she wanted to make sure her son would be well cared for. So when they were alone, she gave Dierdre the ultimate test.
Deirdre, did you know that when you're married, you have to clean the toilet bowl every single day?
No, was there a law about that? Pulling out all the stops, my parents tried to bribe me.
We'll give you a trip to Europe.
How about a new car?
The harder they tried, the more determined I was to marry the lug.
Why don't you go on the trip and then marry him?
That actually never occurred to me.
Anyway, we informed them we were getting married in 3 weeks, in time for the new semester. For years, Dierdre's father had volunteered as the liaison for big, showy weddings and bar mitzvahs at their Long Island temple. He knew how to make things happen quickly. But for his daughter, not to have a big wedding with all the trimmings was...
Shonda, a scandal. She must be pregnant.
How far along do you think she is?
No wedding gown. Is she showing yet?
We were married in my parents' living room with 17 people present, including the rabbi, my 5-year-old niece, and our maid.
I came in scared shitless. Still makes me feel weird even now.
Don't go away.
I immediately filled the tall glass with Jack Daniel's bourbon. No ice. I gulped it down.
Meanwhile, my mother and I were upstairs getting ready, and she said,
I never wanted it to be like this for you.
"That's it. I am not getting married. We'll just live together, and there's nothing you can do about it." I flounced down the stairs, ready to grab Mark and walk out the door. Then reality hit. Mark was much too drunk to drive. And I didn't know how to drive his standard transmission car.
We had to stick around. Everyone gritted their teeth.
Except for Mark's father, who wasn't wearing his.
And we got married. So that's the bad wedding. Not a very auspicious start. But here we are 50 years later.
So it gets better from there on. And we have not been very celebratory over our lives. We never attended any of our graduations, and we haven't had big birthday parties. But over the years, we've gone to a number of weddings, and we've always been struck by the kind of love and support that people get that we obviously didn't get. And recently, we've gone to a couple of weddings that I just want to mention that have really brought that home. One was Everett Lewis's wedding, in which they were surrounded by a really loving community, which they then up and left. And most recently, about 6 weeks ago, Daniel and Lauren's wedding, in which they had a really complicated family situation with people not talking to each other and all this, but everybody got together in support of them. And one thing that struck me when I was thinking about this was that when Mark and I got married in 1964, of course, Everett and Lewis's wedding would not have been able to happen, and Daniel and Lauren's wedding would have been illegal in a good part of the United States. So with all the things that are moving in the wrong direction in this country, there are some good things that are happening.
I had occasion to be in the car this morning, and on comes Neil Young. He's written a new set of memoirs, and the interviewer said, "Well, didn't you just write your memoirs 2 years ago?" And he says, "Yes, but this one is explicitly about his cars, his memoir, a memoir in the context of all the cars he's had." And in the course of the interview, he mentioned the 50s, really the world that Dierdre and I came from. And he mentioned his 59 Cadillac Eldorado with the fins. And he said, only optimistic people could have made this car. And so it was a culture of optimism. And I like to think that maybe that optimism has permeated our lives a bit also. So here we are.
So let's hear it again for the senior theater group. And one of the blessings of our lives is to have so many friends who are so talented, especially musicians. And you'll be hearing David and Will throughout the evening. But there's been another woman in Mark's life for several decades, and that's his piano teacher, Karen Malamed Smith. And she and Mark are going to perform for you.